Hey, how's it going? It is your muscle building coach, Lee Hayward, and right now I'm down in Clearwater, Florida at the Critical Bench compound, hanging out here with Coach Chris from Critical Bench, and today we're going to be covering some unique training strategies to build bigger calves. All right, so when it comes to calves, one thing that we cannot deny, genetics plays a big role.
Yeah.
Right?
Huge.
It's a huge role. You either got them or you don't, right? You see that a lot. And in my case, I was fortunate because my mom has big calves. She hates them. Like a lot of women hate big calves, right?
Yes.
Right? They don't.
There's very few things on a woman's body that they want to be big.
Yes.
I mean, let's face it.
Right?
Well,
bigger boobs, bigger
yeah.
butt in some cases, but no woman wants bigger calves, or very few anyway.
No, they want like shapely is what they want, but not large.
Right.
You know, us guys who work out, we're like,
want calves.
we want calves, we want biceps,
That's right.
You know, forearms.
Right. So anyway, genetics does play a big role.
It is huge.
But regardless of your genetics, there's always room for improvement. And that's what we're going to focus on in this video, is how can you make the most of your God-given genetics and maximize the growth in your calves. And there's some unique strategies when it comes to calves. Like it's a different muscle group. Like it's one of those muscles you really have to focus on quality over quantity. And it's a unique muscle in that a lot of times people train them too heavy. Like how often do you go into the gym and you see guys with skinny calves, more often than not, use the whole weight stack on the standing calf raise machine, and they're doing these little bouncy reps where like not even going through a full range of motion, the knees are bent, and so they're half squatting, half calf raising, using way too much weight.
I see the same thing with shrugs.
Shrugs too, yeah, right? Same idea.
It's the same idea. You're trying to have a lot of impact on a very, let's call it a small part of the body, with excessive loads.
Right.
And it's kind of like a backwards approach.
You're
better off at like, what's the quality of the movement of the lift look like
time under tension,
lighter to moderate weights. Yeah.
Time under tension with quality of movement. I mean, that's a big thing. So what we're going to focus on in this workout is how can you maximize muscle stimulation in the calves, not using excessively heavy weight. Like you're going to have to, as they say, leave the ego at the door, because we're going to be using light weights for a lot of these exercises, but you're going to get maximum muscle stimulation from it. All right, so first one, let's just jump into it. First exercise?
Let's do it.
We're going to do some standing calf raises. So we don't have a proper standing calf raise machine here, but we're going to make do. And I know a lot of people, you may or may not have a standing calf raise machine, but we've got a hack squat. And this is going to work just as well. Same mechanics once we get it all set up. With this, we want to basically get a stretch in the calves. So I mean, like this is the main thing we want to get. The toes on the foot plate so that you can go through that full range of motion. And what I'm going to do is put my shoulders up against the pad here. And this is a standing calf raise using a hack squat.
The only real difference here, Lee, is that your body is just at more of a 45-degree angle than being upright. So other than that, Lee's still getting a really nice stretch and be able to go up on his toes or on the balls of his feet, right? And that's the whole point here is maximum range of motion under tension. And he's just going nice and easy.
Another little tip, once your feet start to slip, reset your feet.
Reset your feet.
I do that usually halfway through every set.
Now what's your range, your rep range typical of a standing calf raise like this?
I shoot for a minimum of 10 reps, but the way that I do it is I always like to focus on slow and controlled movement. So you notice full stretch in the bottom, come for a full peak contraction at the top, and as long as I'm doing that, I really don't care about the reps. It's about the time under tension and that quality movement. So usually it's 10 reps is what I'm gunning for, but if I can do more, or at the end, if I hit failure before 10 reps, it doesn't matter, right? I just focus on the quality. Don't get hung up on the reps.
Question, what were your calves like when you were younger? Did you kind of at like 10, 12, 15 years old, did you already have pretty large calves? Yeah.
I was big into BMX biking when I was younger and playing soccer and things like that. So, I mean, my legs, and I did martial arts as well, so they kind of had a head start over a lot of my My legs were bigger than my upper body when I was younger.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I actually had to play catch up.
It's a good way to do. Build from the ground up.
Build from the ground up,
No,
yeah.
I'd rather have bigger, stronger legs and have to work on the upper body to catch up. Rather than the other way around. Because you do see a lot of that. You see the overdeveloped upper bodies and this chicken legs. Yeah, and I'm like, there's just nothing good about that at all.
And another great calf exercise that you can do is a seated calf raise. And right now we're making do with a homemade makeshift seated calf raise machine because we don't have a proper seated calf raise station, but this is going to work great. So we just got a step. This is like an aerobic step, but you can use anything like a block of wood, any type of step or block that you have available, even a couple weight plates for that matter.
Correct. Anything that gets you like 4 to 6 inches of elevation.
We just want to be able to have a stretch, because the idea here is we want to have our toes on the block here, let our heels hang off the edge so that you can go through that full range of motion.
Right.
And that's something I really want to emphasize. I did mention it when we were doing the standing calf, but when you're doing a calf raise, like let your heels sink all the way down in the bottom and hold that fully stretched position. And then when you come up, like come all the way up onto your tippy toes, really hold that peak contraction and flex the calves hard in the top. And this is critical to making gains in the calves because the calf is a very tough, dense muscle, and it's always used to mid-range movements. Right. Like whenever we take a step, we're doing a little mini calf raise, but it's always in this little mid-range. We're not fully stretching it, we're not fully peak contracting it. So if you want to build growth in the calves, you got to get outside what you're always doing, that mid-range, and you got to go for that fully stretched all the way down in the bottom, fully peak contraction all the way up in the top. That's where you're going to get into the tap into that growth, that untapped growth, I should say, because like that's the area of the calf that's never worked.
No doubt, it's a great point to make, and the difference now also between a standing calf and a seated calf,
right?
As we were talking about earlier, is one is going to have a greater effect on a certain area of the calf muscle versus, so straight leg is more upper calf or gastrocnemius.
Gastrocnemius, when you do when your legs are straight, you work more of the gastrocnemius. Right. When it's bent, more of the soleus. And the soleus is actually a muscle that's underneath the calf. Like if you really want to geek out on this, you can go Google search it or whatever, right? I mean, you can see the anatomy chart, see how the calf muscles work. But the soleus is a muscle that's underneath, and the gastrocnemius is a muscle that's on the surface. But
the gastroc's the one that gets all the love and attention, but there's other stuff, and then there's the tibialis anterior.
That's right, the muscles in the front,
which is the front. So it's really smart to fully train the lower leg, and figure out ways to hit those muscles. So
let's just do it.
What's this homemade seated calf look like?
This is a seated calf. So again, we have our step, sitting on a bench, like. You can sit on a chair or anything for that matter, and we're just going to use some dumbbells. Now, ideally, you want to have dumbbells that are smooth on the top. Like if you got those adjustable dumbbells for home with the the spiral screw-on handles, it's not going to work.
Very uncomfortable,
But for this, it's going to work great. So I'm just going to do some seated calf raise using the dumbbells as resistance. Now,
and you can see, go ahead and hold it at the top for a second. Here's the soleus.
Right.
See this?
Feel that?
It really, I mean, so the gastroc's still working. He's still working the upper part, but the focus here is this underlying deeper muscle in the soleus.
Thanks for the calf massage there, Chris.
Of course, buddy. Hey, man, we go all out here at the compound.
But like this, I'm using relatively lightweight. I mean, it's 50 pounds here, 50-pound dumbbell, so it's 100 pounds total resistance. But even because I'm going through that full stretch, that full peak contraction, I'm still feeling a burn in those calves. And the idea is you just want to keep going. Focus on that time under tension. It's quality, that's what we're going for. Not these short little choppy reps like we were mentioning earlier.
That's right.
So, I mean, I can feel that working already.
Yeah, you don't want to be bouncing your way through it and be using all the upper thigh and other leg muscles to move the weight like you see so often, right?
Muscle it up.
Really try to, if you're going to isolate well.
So there you go. That is a seated calf raise variation. Now, of course, if you're training at a gym that has a proper standing calf raise or seated calf raise machine, I mean, take advantage of it. But even if you're at a limited gym or at a home gym, you can make do with what we're just showing here. It works the muscles the same way.
Let's move on to another one.
Let's move on.
All right, so number 3, let's talk about that front part of the shin area, the tibialis anterior or anterior tibialis. I've heard it both ways. They do have a nifty little machine that I remember using, gosh, years and years ago, where you put your foot in there and you can put little plate weights on it and pull the toe. But a lot of people aren't going to have that.
No, we don't have it here.
We don't have it here.
Right.
So what's a good alternative move to train that front part?
Right. We're going to do basically the opposite of what we just did with the seated calf raise. We're going to do some work for the shins. And I mean, it's the complete opposite. So I'm going to let my toes hang off the edge and I just flex up and hold that. Now, of course, you got to balance yourself here.
Right. Yeah. Now, if you feel like you need to hold on to something, like a partner, hey, look at that! I'm coming in handy for something. So,
but I mean, I can feel that work because again, I'm focusing on the contraction.
Correct. And this is not a muscle that we're typically used to isolating or
reset
training.
My feet again here. So I mean, yeah, this.
But people have probably heard of shin splints before, right?
Big time. If you tried running,
can be very, very painful. And what that really comes down to, I think, or not, I think, it's just. It's a common thing that happens in our younger years and stuff because you have an imbalance, right, in the lower body.
For sure.
Those muscles are trying to compensate. They start to get really tight, and maybe they're underused or they're weak, and they get very painful. And it almost feels they call them shin splints. It's almost like your shins are like
right in the front.
Yeah, like the bone is like getting ripped apart or something.
Very painful.
Very, very painful. So just simple exercises like that.
One.
Yeah.
You had another one, Chris. You just showed me earlier. We were just
on
the bench.
So if I sit on the bench, or you could just sit on the floor and do this too. Yeah. So it's an isometric hold, really, is what it is. So if I'm going to pull my toe towards me and then push my toe away with my other foot. Exactly right. And then just hold it isometrically for like 3 to 5 seconds and then relax. And then again, push and pull and create that tension. Right. And so there's no movement. It's isometric work here. Yep. But that's going to fire that muscle up and give it some necessary activity and stimulation. And that can actually be a good way to stretch it too. You can actually pull and kind of push it out.
I like that.
Pull and push it out, and that can be a good way to start to stretch that front part of the body, or of the lower body there.
Something we should point out there, like this is an area that a lot of people don't work. So I mean, when you're starting off, just do a few sets of this max, because you don't want to get over sore and overstrain yourself, because most people have never done this before.
That's correct.
Most people have not.
This is like doing finger exercises or something, if I was going to equate it to something, it's like, tread lightly with this, give it a few minutes of your time, and that'll go a long way.
Build it up slowly over time.
Build it up time,
absolutely.
Over time,
So that's a killer one. I've never actually done that variation, so I'm going to give that a go myself.
So now we got 2 more kind of off the radar exercises, all right? We're going to start with something that you've probably seen Mr. Rocky Balboa do every once in a while, so let's get going to that. All right, so skipping rope has been actually one of my favorite things to do. For conditioning purposes, really, for just extra fat burning, extra activity, and then a nice side effect of a lot of calf work.
Right.
And talk about, if you do 500 to 1,000 reps, and that's usually where I go. I'll do sets of 100 or 200. Sometimes if I'm feeling, pretty energized, I'll just go for like 5 to 10 minutes continuous. So it's a great activity, and obviously, boxers use it as a way to help increase stamina and to keep that lower body really just, they're grounded, they're strong, right? Yep. If your legs go out from under you as a boxer, you're done, you're going down on the mat. So I just love it for all the other health benefits, but that side effect is
builds up the calves.
It builds up the calves. You're bouncing on your toes.
Yep.
So, but I will say, a lot of people I notice, they over jump, or they get frustrated with skipping rope. It's something they did as a kid, but then they really didn't do it. But I did a lot of it in college and forced myself to do it until I got smooth at it and got good at it. So it does take time to get smooth and to be able to jump soft.
Right.
You have to be able to jump soft.
Yeah.
But it's a great under the radar kind of like calf developer, so I love that
finisher. Like you do that at the end of a workout. It's a great way to finish off your calves.
Agreed.
Now, I'm not as graceful as you with jumping rope. I'm one of those guys. I'm like clunk, like heavy on my feet when it comes to jumping rope, because I don't have the years of practice, right? So a variation that you can do instead of jumping rope, if you have access to a rebounder, you might have one at your gym. I mean, I picked one up myself. I got one for home, and I just used the rebounder. This is a phenomenal exercise for the calves for the exact same reasons. You're just getting that high reps. The time under tension is just continuous muscle pumping. And I kind of like stumbled on this by accident because I was looking for ways to just add in extra exercise to my routine. And there's a lot of benefits to rebounding and jumping just for the whole body. I mean, it just helps to wake up all the internal organs, the cells. I mean, that movement, that rebounding, that jumping movement is so powerful. But then a side effect, I'm like, man, my calves are burning, right?
Yes.
That's where I would feel it. So I'm thinking this is a great way, especially for people who have stubborn calves.
Yes.
You're already doing calf raises, the standing calf raise, the seated calf raise. You're doing all that stuff. These little extras, that can be the edge to kind of push that growth and spur on some new muscle growth in that calf area for you. Anything else you want to add to it? I think it's pretty good.
I think it's great.
Yeah?
I mean, I was just like really like in line with your what you were saying, and was just really mesmerized there for a moment. So no, I hope that there's something in this video that you're able to implement into your training to just get those calves to get to the next level. Maybe you're frustrated. Maybe you weren't dealt that nice hand like Lee,
right?
With great genetics, but combined with years of activity and proper training. So there is that added caveat to why his calves are mine are like average. I've trained them over the years, but they're average at best. You have exceptionally large calves, but so it's just they come in all shapes and sizes. The key is just consistency, get the range of motion, and don't overwhelm them with an abundance of weight like we see, because that's just not what they need.
Something we should talk about there is another point you just mentioned. Like the calves is a very small muscle group, and it can be trained frequently, and you'll actually get better results if you train them with less volume but more frequency. Because it's not like you're going to go in and do a calf day. Like, like bodybuilders, well, today's chest day or back day. Like nobody has a calf day. It's always like an add-on to another day.
That's right.
So I recommend if your calves are stubborn, every other day or 3 days a week, right? You can handle that frequency, and that's what's really going to help to spur on the growth.
Yeah, that's a great point.
All right, so there you go, guys. That is a great workout that you can do for your calves. Hopefully you found it helpful. Now, if you have any questions, comments, or feedback about this, feel free to post them down in the comment section below. I always love chatting with you down there. And if you haven't already done so, click on that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you get updated whenever we add new videos. Head on over to Critical Bench's channel, subscribe over there as well. They're constantly pumping out great content. And there we go. Check out the videos. We're going to have some more blooped up to the sides. There's going to be some more workouts, some calf workouts, and workouts for other muscle groups. So check those out as well. And be sure to stay tuned for my next video coming soon. Take care. Over and out.